Advanced English Arabic Learning Session 35. I've duped you all. We pitched camp for the night. The brush, shrubs, and deadfall along the river stopped us cold. A tangled mass of fallen trees and brush. Any merch involving Elvis or the Beatles, merchandise. To pitch hay onto a wagon, to throw. It piqued my interest. The ground was besmirched with blood. Mob doctor. She carefully made up her face and brushed her long auburn, bay, hair. He is so uptight about everything. He bonked his head on the countertop. Give it a bonk with a hammer or a sledgehammer. He received a blow to the skull, a powerful stroke. Peg leg, an artificial leg, especially a wooden one. They exposed the truth behind the patriotic boilerplate. Some sections have been written as boilerplate for use in all proposals. She made a dive for the fridge to quench her thirst. The property was sequestrated by the authorities. Occasionally a small child will throw a tantrum when denied something. He rubbed out the lines and carried on drawing. You can bet he's been rubbed out for business reasons. A shower and a brisk rub down with a towel. This decision represents something of a final throw. Their property was sequestered by Parliament. Cold statistics means not affected by emotion. What is cold hard cash? She was upsetting them with cold facts. The quest for a reliable vaccine has intensified. They didn't catch him in the car clothes but no cigar. Estranged wife. He became estranged from his father. Once out of the village, they picked up speed. The debate has picked up steam recently. I have been a fruitarian for 3 years. The prehistoric fruitarian diet. A station concourse. Take this food away before I gag. Slum clearance accelerated during the 1960s. I don't like her dissing my friends. Shepherds who grazed animals on common land. Advertisers should not encourage children to graze on snacks or sweets. Crazed by hunger, the population began to turn on the rebels. The lock was frozen over but crazed with cracks. She shopped her husband to bosses for taking tools home. She slogged her way round the supermarket doing the weekly shop. She upped and left him. You could well place us both in peril. Richard usurped the throne. He endlessly rehashes songs from his American era. He has been pummeled by the reviewers. Hour-long lineups are common during peak periods. Israel usurped Palestine. He was insinuating that I had no self-control. He would swizzle it into a froth and pour it out for us. A swizzle stick is a small stick used to stir drinks. What is a distress signal in boating? Offenders should recompense their victims. Don't get me wrong. Debtors were caught in a vicious circle. We're trapped in a vicious circle. Virtuous cycle. The term twister is just slang for tornado. You can't change my mind by caveman tactics. America's national emblem is the bald eagle. A mighty blow. 3 mighty industrial countries. She tilted her body sideways. Trouble comes sideways. To explore in more detail, just pinch the screen, zoom into or out of an image. I have to pinch myself every morning to make sure I'm not dreaming. Online grooming has become a growing cause for concern. Water gushed out of the washing machine. He would be moved sideways, rather than demoted. He succumbed to burn injuries by his paramour. We're pinching ourselves every single day. He hurried towards his office without a sideways glance. The hero is invariably outsmarted by the heroine. The grizzly bear is more dangerous even than the black bear. Some climbers crash diet for 3 days before major ascents. The movie was busted by the state of Arizona. A grenade blew him to smithereens. Someone tampered with the brakes of my car. He insinuated himself into the king's confidence. My father grilled us about what we had been doing. You dork. I throw this party to celebrate the graduation of our class. The plans would spell disaster for the economy. The magician may cast a spell on himself. Short stories with a contemporary setting. You have to be careful not to set the volume too high. Set your watch immediately to local time at your destination. Cook for a further 35 minutes until the filling has set 35. Nobody that lame. He whistled at the sheer audacity of the plan. The stairway to heaven. He wrapped up the Christmas presents. Geese circled around and honked. He stooped down and reached towards the coin. Try first by fair means. I never expected that he would stoop so low as to involve my parents. He's very fair with blue eyes. Everyone came up to me and gushed about how lucky I was. During the tour they continued to gel as a band. Has had several run-ins with the law of late. She's careful not to steal the limelight. Many of the myths have been busted by modern science. The boom was followed by the present bust. He has a horror of cliched images of African American life. Renders, a first coat of plaster applied to a brick or stone surface. She frowned, thrown by this apparent change of tack. We've been inundated with complaints from listeners. She was determined to right the wrongs done to her father. He whisked her off to Paris for a few days. An enchanted garden, placed under a spell or bewitched. Now they've bust up, she won't inherit the house, break up. Men hired to bust up union rallies. A tall, thin man with a stoop. He believes he has a fair chance of success. A mobile phone network is being used to peddle vice. Hypocrisy is a particularly sinister vice. Cigars happen to be my father's vice. This cow is a fair swine. A fair autumn day. The fairest of her daughters. Speculation ran rife that he was an arms dealer. I won a goldfish at the fair. You scratch my back, and I'll scratch yours. He got you fair and square in his gun sight. We won the match fair and square. We cannot afford the airfare. The taxi driver was anxious to pick up a fare. Farewell, Albert. Goodbye. The dinner had been arranged as a farewell. They blew £100,000 in just 18 months. This is my hook. Loch Ness Monster. He caught 2 huge fish. Freshwater fishes of the British Isles. Magic lantern. He'd been given a second chance and he'd blown it. This is an Amber Alert. A chandelier threw its bright light over the walls. Lamb cutlets. Pardon me for belching. A factory chimney belches out smoke. Follow my lead. Relief from the daily grind. Groundhog Day. Extemporaneously prepared suppositories. To speak extemporaneously. An extemporaneous speech. He threw a huge farewell party for them. The audience shrieked with laughter. Incessantly incense. I'll put it on your tab and you can pay tomorrow. Let's keep tabs on the weather. The notes were written in 860 or thereabouts 860. The greedy cutthroat manufacturers he worked for. A hot, nutritious meal. To cap is essentially to lie. He's capping. A disreputable squad of thieves, cutthroats, and deserters. I slogged through the heather in the heat. The destroyer gathered speed. The crooks don't limit their extortion scheme. I gathered that they were old friends. Only this engine is working under steam in Cornwall. Pulling a gun on himself that explodes with confetti. We are determined to crack down on drivers who pollute. He'd steamed the letter open and then resealed it. Cops have no leads on the hate crime, which occurred on. The dog yelped frenetically, wildly gyrating her tail. A frenetic pace of activity. To jockey the humpbacked beasts. The Bushmen live by hunting and gathering. The end. Coming next. Session 36.